loopholes. There's one problem, in my opinion. America has tried those Republican policies during the past decade, and they failed. The Tea Party is also fighting relentlessly to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So the repeal of the Affordable Health Care Act adds a deficit. The House Republican budget, another job deficit. And that's what we're looking at. That's the economists. It's not me. Mark Zandi is not a liberal economist. These Tea Party Republican policies are creating huge insecurity in our communities. They're disrupting a fragile economic recovery that I showed you earlier. And they're threatening to pull our economy back into recession. That's not just me saying it. You've heard the economists and you've heard the folks on TV, the university professors, and the people who watch the markets all say this. So kind of what my colleagues up here were alluding to is, do we have a broken system? Well, I don't think our political system is broken. It's worked for over 200 years and has made America the most powerful and freest nation in the world. Our system is in crisis today because of a new radical movement that is willing to break the established rules of working together, rules that were put in place in the Constitution with a cut and a balance, and it's come into, rather than working together, to develop a winner-take-all mentality. Self-identified Tea Party, they represent a minority. They represent a minority of the House members. They represent a minority, a powerful minority in the Republican caucus. But they are a minority in the U.S. Congress. Minority rule, I want to stress this. Minority rule is not the form... Minority? I don't know if you're applauding because he's leaving or because he's... Please, no. The minority rule was not the form of government our founders established. What the Tea Party did with the debt ceiling is unworthy of America's democracy. Now my colleagues need to decide whether they're legislators, protesters, or agitators. And even Jim Ramstad made an appeal that we all work together as legislators. Now, protesting isn't governing, and compromise is not defeat. America's political system can solve our nation's problems, but only if, and I stress, only if both parties work together for a common good and reject high-stakes gamesmanship. Now, some of you know I'm a former history teacher. And I think it's important to this discussion to remember how America went from a surplus under President Clinton to the deficits and debt we face today. Now, I did not vote for the trillions of dollars in deficit spending over the past decade. I did not vote for the war in Iraq. I did not vote for Medicare prescription drug benefits, please. Tax cuts in 2000, tax cuts in 2003, and tax cuts in 2010. These policies were strongly supported by the Republicans and, yes, some Democrats. But these are the debt ceiling needed to be raised. Now, I did not vote for these policies, but I did support legislation to raise the debt ceiling. I voted for a clean debt ceiling raise.